Chair recognizes Representative Hinojosa for the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise today to speak to you, honestly, kind of from an uncomfortable place. The thing is that I'm proud of what the Texas House is doing here today, and that's an unusual place for me to be and a little uncomfortable. But I would like to get used to that feeling. But this bill today is the pride of all the members, the parents, the teachers, and advocates who worked hard to get where we are here today. I, like some of you, ran to serve my community because of the state's role in financing our public schools. Our schools here in Austin, just like everywhere else, are desperate for funds. And the reason I ended up on the school board before my service in the House was because my own son's school was threatened for closure because of funding concerns. So my advocacy for kids started before I was elected to this job, and in many ways I still identify as that advocate, that mom, working this Capitol for our kids. And from one mom to another, let me say to the moms of Texas and to the dads, this bill is the bill we have been working for. And to the teachers who dedicate their working lives to our kids, who for too long have been underappreciated and unheard, we hear you, and this bill is for you. And in February, House Democrats put forward our Texas Kids First plan. We laid out a number of key priorities for our vision for the future of our public schools in Texas. Today, I am pleased to say that this bill incorporates most of those priorities because the House has crafted a bill with the primary focus being on our kids. That's not to say this bill is perfect, but by and large, the bill is good and puts aside partisan and ideological differences to do what is right. Chairman Huberty should be credited and should be applauded for keeping an open mind and open ears when leading the effort to get this right. One of the primary ways this bill gets this right by our kids is that it finally funds a priority that many of us have worked towards for a long time, and that was a cornerstone of the Democratic plan, and that's full-day pre-K. This bill recognizes what we all know, and that there's no better investment we can make for our kids than an investment in full-day pre-K. This bill also invests in all our kids with a substantial investment in the basic allotment. And one of my favorite parts of this bill is that it invests this money in our kids and not on test scores. We all know that a quality education cannot be measured by one day's performance on a test, and that a rich learning environment is not achieved through test prep, and it is not achieved on the cheap. And because we know that there is nothing more critical to a quality education than a quality teacher, the amendment by our Democratic Caucus Chair, Representative Turner, recognizes and rewards the efforts and sacrifices of our teachers by prioritizing increased compensation for our educators. And because every single employee on a school campus is crucial to the success of a campus, these increases are shared by all campus employees. Finally, the bill makes a strong commitment to moving more money towards our kids with greatest needs. I want to thank Vice Chair Bernal for the work he did, as well as Representative Gonzalez for the work she did to address special education. Of course, there is more work. Of course, there is more work to do. Our school finance system was neglected for years, so it's not something we can fix in a single session. There are long-term equity questions as well as increased revenue needs we must identify if we are going to return to the state share of education funding to an even 50-50 split with our local communities. I know Chairman Huberty as well as members of this House are committed to identifying funding sources in the future that will allow us to put even more dollars into public education when we come back next session. My final message is again to the moms and the dads and teachers who got us this far. Your work is only halfway done. We task you today with shepherding this bill through the Senate and keeping it focused on the needs of our kids. House Bill 3 is an example of what happens when we come together, Democrats and Republicans, and instead of fighting about our different visions, speak honestly about what we want and what we can achieve together. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for leading us through this process. Because together we can accept no less and our kids deserve no less. And I urge your support for this bill.